the internal assessment is a part of the IB curriculum.
The internal assessment is a portion of our final IB grade as well, but I think what's really interesting is that we can explore something personal, like personally interesting to us. It's essentially a really large lab report.
I've always had an interest in aircraft, various different things with regards with aerodynamics, turbulent flow of air. But in physics class, we've only really learnt about projectile motion, which is when things fly, without really any air resistance or anything. So it's a very theoretical approximation. So now what I'm trying to do is, through the use of Nerf darts and a Nerf gun, I'm trying to see how much air resistance actually impacts flight trajectory. So for my internal assessment, I attached a Nerf gun, which I brought from home, to a contraption which measures the firing angle of said Nerf gun. Then what I'm doing is I'm firing it. I think I'm doing 8 trials in total. So I'm firing it at the different angles, ranging from 20 degrees to 70 degrees. Then for each of those angles, I am measuring the distance the projectile reached. Well, I would say that specifically doing this practical exercise is very useful because it actually lets you visualize the actual motion of the projectiles. For example, I hadn't actually considered the aspect of lift with these Nerf darts, but I see that they actually wave around in the air, and that's due to the lift they generate. In addition to that, as I said, I've always been really interested in aircraft, trains, and specifically the fluid dynamics, or the aerodynamics in this case, involved with them. That's why I'd like to become an aerospace engineer. So I specifically find this very interesting to actually be able to do an actual proper scientific experiment based on how air resistance and fluid dynamics affects flight trajectory.
This is my physics IA. And when I was first finding it, I was really interested in mechanics, specifically like fluid mechanics and so on. So I thought it'd be interesting to do an experiment in flow rate. So right now I've just measured 25 grams of salt, which I'm going to put into my water so that I can influence the density of my liquid and therefore see how flow rate is influenced by density. So essentially what I'm exploring is how height and density influence flow rate, because they both are correlated to pressure, such as the height of the water increases, the pressure felt on this hole also increases, therefore the flow rate is quicker. And similarly with density is proportional to pressure, therefore as I increase the pressure of the liquid by adding salt in the water solution, the flow rate should be quicker. But something interesting is that as I add salt to my water, the viscosity is also increasing, which actually reverses or like slows down flow rate. Therefore, I'm seeing the relationship between how density influences pressure and viscosity. I just have to use this cap so that the motion detector can sense the motion of the water, and then I just release. I'm just on my trials with using different amounts of salt in my water, so I'm going to explore density now.
I'm looking at starch hydrolysis by an enzyme called amylase, which is also used in the digestive system. I'm adding a certain amount of the enzyme into the starch and seeing it break down into the smaller sugars. And I'm looking at the effect of an external inhibitor, which is ethanol. And I'm changing the concentrations of ethanol and looking at how that would affect the rate of the enzyme breaking down the starch. I'm adding the iodine to the cuvettes so that I can add the sample in directly at 30 seconds. I'm supposed to expect with higher ethanol concentrations there would be less activity and less starch being broken down. So that's dark because there's more starch present right now. I think this type of hands-on learning would allow us to understand the more theoretical stuff practically, and also help us learn new lab techniques.
And it starts right here.